we are ready for winter. That's about 4 cords of wood, which we don't generally burn in a year. We heat exclusively with wood, but because it's a small house, we usually get about 3 cords, 3.5 cords of wood gets us through, and we usually have a half cord to a cord left over. So it's still high 60s, 70s here in the daytime, but nighttime, last night, we've had a few nights where we had temperatures in the high 30s, but last night we had 6 to 8 hours at or below freezing. Sunflowers seem to survive okay. Ducks are doing great. Quack, 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 quack. I gotta look these mushrooms up and see what they are. What are those mushrooms, buddy? See if they're edible. We have the North American Field Guide to Mushrooms inside. I just haven't got around to looking them up. But tomatoes are doing good. They get covered up every night. I covered up the squash. Well, I picked all the 6 or 7 inch zucchinis, 6 or 7 of them that were 6 or 7 inches long zucchinis yesterday. And there's still a bunch of little guys on there. There's one that's growing right there, growing upwards. And yeah, so these guys survived. There's 3, 4 of them right there. 5, 6, 7. I mean, they're still flowering. There's plenty of sunshine, and the daytime temperatures are good enough for gardens to keep going, but the nighttime temperatures are at or below freezing. So this one just gets covered up with this green tarp, and I tie it with a clothesline around the bottom just to keep the heat in. And then the ground cherries are doing great. Let's see if any of these are ready. They get yellower and paper, the skin almost becomes translucent. But what's inside, this is a ground cherry or Cape gooseberry. There's a few different names for it. But it kind of tastes like vanilla and citrus. It's really, really sweet. But the freezing temperatures will kill these guys, and they're about a week away from... Oh, here's one. Yeah, they generally fall off and they're ready to go into regular sunlight. That one's still a little green, the wrapper. Yeah. They are super. I'll let that one sit on the ground. It'll ripen up. There's another ripe one. But they generally fall off when they're ready. But these are doing good, so took the pepper plants out of there. The cauliflower and the rhubarb seems to handle the cold okay. All these beds are now gone. We took the amaranth. We have hanging, drying. I'm not even sure what we're going to do with it. And this is where the cuckoo melons were, and the cucumbers. And we took harvested all these potatoes yesterday and turned our hoop house into a little greenhouse. And this still has baby bunnies in it. These are our New Zealand Reds. Hey, bunnies. So we moved them into the hoop house last night. And, rabbits can handle the cold, but these guys are still babies. So this little bump out here is our Brussels sprouts. There's actually 4 of them planted between the rows of the ground cherries. When you prune all the branches off like that, the Brussels sprouts grow in between the nodes of each one of those branches. And they were kind of getting choked out. They were planted late, getting sun-starved by the cuckoo melons and the cherry tomatoes around them. And then it's getting cold. So these guys are finally getting their chance to make some Brussels sprouts. And then we brought in the service berries and chokeberries and blueberries. Not chokeberries. Service berries, blueberries, peonies, elephant ears, and then all of our strawberry runners that we turned into strawberry plants. Just anything that was in pots we threw in here for the night, because a lot of these we still have to plant, and some of them we're probably going to spend the winter in here. And so this is going to be a winter shed for storage. The rabbits won't spend the winter in here, but keep some of our potted plants in here. Because as much as we can grow stuff outside, we can't grow anything inside because it's so hot and so dry all summer. I mean, all winter. The wood stove you'd have to water plants every 6 hours to keep them alive inside. And we are also stocked up as far as winter's concerned for hay. We got 10 bales of hay. And there's, I don't know, 150 pounds of rabbit feed in there. About 130 pounds of chicken and duck feed in there. And another 100 pounds of rabbit feed. A bag over here and a bag over there. And another 30 pounds of chicken feed in there. But we have about 25 chickens and 6 rabbits and 6 ducks. And because of this Karachi virus going around, as I'm sure everybody knows, there's been shortages on everything from canning jars to sewing equipment to exercise equipment, to peat moss to gardening equipment to plastic film for greenhouses, dumbbells, anything you can think of. There's been shortages. And being that we have 6 months of winter up here, and literally 6 months where there's no vegetation accessible for animals to eat, we have to be prepared for supply chain disruptions, whether they're real, fake, warranted, or not. So with that said, anybody's got ducks, chickens, rabbits, pigs, or even cats and dogs, we're gonna get about 150 pounds of cat food and 250 pounds of dog food over the next month or so, just to be ready for the any turmoil, because I'm fairly certain that there's going to be a Karachi round 2 or Karachi round 3 this fall before the election. And again, it's not political at all. This is just, whether you think the Karachi virus was real, fake, or somewhere in the middle, the reaction to it was real. And I'm anticipating supply chain disruptions. And worst case scenario, I buy a bunch of dog food and cat food and rabbit food and chicken food and duck food, and everything's fine and available, and I just don't have to go to the store to get it. But I did hear from my local grain store that they had to drive 400 miles to get hay. And usually at your co-ops and grain stores, other than your chain stores, they're usually all that stuff is locally 25-30 miles away. So if they're driving 7 hours to get hay, the market that they're getting it from is getting depleted because our market needs it. And I live in farm country, and with the Derecho or Derecho that flattened 14 million acres of farmland a few months ago, and the first hurricane that hit the south hit the Gulf and then banked left and took out a bunch of crops, and then the second hurricane hit the Gulf and then banked right and took out a bunch of crops, and the late snow and the spring flooding, America and the world's grain supplies, for that matter, have been wiped out everywhere. It's been snowing in China in June, so lots of countries need grain, and we supply grain to a lot of places, and grain prices are going up and getting harder to get. And people food prices are going up too. So, video's a little different than most. I'm not an expert in anything. I just am reporting what I observed. If you got animals, make sure you stock up on food for them. And again, like I said, worst case scenario, you have food for your animals for longer. If you don't need it, you can always use it. And if you do need it, it's good to have it. That's all for now.